Hey, it's Joy. I've got big feelings about little things, and I want to talk about it. Oh yeah, I'm mad about it. And the fact that everyone else is not up in arms about it is a big part of the problem. Oh, I bawled my eyes out, like I always do. It was the sweetest thing. Oh, it was the cutest thing. It was the funniest thing. Thanks for being here. Let's go. Hey, thank you so much for being here. So glad to be with you again. I am having big feelings as usual. This time it is about your team. Ever since when I started this podcast a few weeks or months ago, it's been so fun. I'm hearing from people, give me their opinions. Of course, they want to know what we're going to chat about, all the things. They love to say, oh, this was my favorite. Oh, I connect with this. Oh, this is my, but the most frequent question I get, and I will quote, is who is that guy? Who's that guy at the end? Who's doing the outro? Who's producer James? And instead of telling you about him, I just thought I'm going to finally turn on your mic, producer James, and let you speak. Hi.
Hi, Joy.
How are you?
I'm doing really good.
Good. Thank you so much for joining me. You're always here, but I said, can we turn on the mic? Can we have a quick conversation? Because you have fans. Did you understand that?
I absolutely know I have fans.
Great. Good.
I mean, it's
kind of obvious.
I mean, it's very obvious.
Yeah. And I'm so grateful to have you here. Thank you for working with your people to make sure that we were able to carve out this time. I really appreciate you doing us this favor.
My people, your people, we all worked it out.
Yeah, we're all the same. So people actually do want to know who you are, what you do, and how all this works. So let's just briefly tell them what you do for me. That will be, I think, a quicker conversation. So you are my producer, but then you also help me. Well,
I think the outro speaks for itself. Am I right? Is that I'm a producer?
Yeah.
I'm an executive producer.
Sure. Which is better.
Which is even better than a producer.
Yeah.
I am the editor.
Mm-hmm. Accurate.
I am the director. I am the manager. I am the agent.
I forgot you were my manager and agent. I know. Why haven't I gotten any work? No. Or is that a conversation for a later time?
I mean, I don't think we want to, air those on the podcast.
I understand, sure, but it did stir a little something in me. So I'll think about. We'll have this talk later.
We'll talk about it offline. Yeah. But you are the creative talent.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And how we know each other, I think, is the biggest question that people get. Like, did you hire someone? You're actually someone I know from my personal life. You are my cousin.
You are my cousin, right? And that's actually how I refer when I talk about you, or when I talk about the podcast. However, I always say my cousin is doing this. My cousin is doing a podcast.
Okay, so you don't say, "Oh, I'm producing this podcast that I want you to listen to."
No.
Well, I mean, I'm that's what I would say. If I were you, I'd be like, hey, I'm producing this podcast. Oh, who is it? Oh, it's my cousin. But I would lead with, I'm producing this podcast.
I would say that I am helping my cousin with the podcast. And don't you think for a second I don't promote it. I have sent it to
tens of people.
Tens.
Thank you for doing that. We should add marketer. Should we add promoter?
Sorry, I mean, I thought that was just implicit in.
I know, but I'm just saying I'd like you to get the credit.
We'll do a new outro and we'll add those because I think that's important.
Okay, perfect. Just in case. Now there are people that do not listen to every inch of a podcast, and as soon as I say bye, they will move on to the next episode. So I just want to play the outro real quick right here, so people, just in case you've never heard it, you know what we're referring to.
Okay. Thanks for listening to Little Things, Big Feelings with Joy Delaney. I'm James, the producer, editor, director, and executive producer. Follow Joy on socials at Joy Delaney Cox on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
Honestly, forget TikTok. I don't even know how to use it anyway.
You don't even know how to use it anyway.
James.
Follow Joy on socials at Joy Delaney Cox on Instagram and Facebook. See you next week.
Okay, so now people have a good sense. But yes, we're cousins. We're actually cousins by marriage?
We're actually not cousins.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. You're married to my cousin.
Right. And so maybe the listeners feel at this point like...
They feel sideswiped a little bit?
Yeah, that's a great word. Sideswiped. Because we keep calling each other cousins and we're not cousins. you're my wife's cousin,
Yeah.
right?
But you may as well be my cousin because you come to the exact same events a cousin would come to, who she does. And I feel the same like brotherly, cousinly, like affection for you that I would feel of a cousin. And once you marry in, right?
Relationally, you are like my cousin.
Yeah.
That's why we just say that.
Perfect. Okay, so we're cousins, and we've known each other for how long? 15 years or?
So 16 years. So I started dating your cousin, Laura, when I was 19 years old.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, no wonder I remember you as so young.
Yeah, I was little.
You were.
A little baby. Yeah, a little baby. I'm 30.
Not that now.
I'm not that. I'm not that now. But
Sorry, I cut you off. You're 34.
I'm 34.
Okay.
I'm 34. So, yeah.
So we met forever ago. I don't have many early memories of you. I'll just be honest. I remember you young. I remember you smart. But I'll tell you that when I think of first meeting you, I was at another cousin, your wife's sister.
Uh-huh.
I was at her house, and your wife's name is Laura. Laura was there. And we were all standing around the island just chit-chatting, and Laura kept looking at her phone. And she has that look on her face that you have when you see a text from somebody that you are smitten with. And she's, when you're doing that cute little smile where you're texting somebody and there's a conversation going on around you, but you just can't you can't really pay attention to it because you're distracted because cute James just texts me and blah, da-da-da. And I remember saying, who's that you're texting? And it was you. And I don't know, from then on, you have been part of our lives. And seeing her smitten, I had never seen it before. And it was really fun. It's when your friends meet someone that's great and they like them and they're excited and they can't keep a conversation going because they're texting. It's a fun thing to watch. And it was really fun for me to watch that. And because I love her and I want her to be happy and I want her to meet someone like you. And so that's what I remember.
And I love that story. So what about the first time that you remember meeting me or your first memories of me?
My very first memories, we were on some type of road trip. And you know this about your wife and I know this about your wife. She has no ability to stay awake in the car for more than 5 minutes. So I think we were all three driving in a car. She was asleep and we had a full conversation.
I have clear memories of that. That was driving home from Scott and Tracy's wedding. And I know exactly that road trip you're talking about.
Yeah. So you remember it very clearly.
Yes.
And I just remember I was pouring my heart out. This title of this podcast is not a bit. I do have really big feelings. And I had really big feelings in that car ride, and I have really big feelings at every event I go to. I have big feelings. So I was like pouring my heart out. And you were like, kindly, but you were trying to explain your way out of that. Like explain why I didn't need to worry about that and explain why this isn't really a problem and explain. It was very heady when I was like coming from my heart. It was like very heady. And I knew you were smart. So I was like, okay, yeah, he's trying to just make sense of this crying girl in his car that he can't do anything about because he either wants to marry this girl or is about to marry this girl. Were y'all married at the time?
We were engaged.
Okay. So, he's like, this crazy cousin came along. She's kind of with the package. You didn't really choose me, James. I came with the package of your wife, I
didn't choose you. And so from my perspective is just like you, I don't remember when I first met you, but I do remember like very early on in mine and my wife's relationship is you were like this kind of social idol.
What?
Yeah. A socialite idol.
Yeah.
I should say.
God, it's my dream. You're talking about my dream right now.
Well, I mean, as I tend to do.
Yeah.
Is that both Laura and I would be like, you were one of the most one of the most popular people we knew. You knew so many people.
You're so cute. That's so nice. That's so nice.
Oh no,
yeah.
Ask Laura. I mean, you can. It was so true. And
I'm like 40 years old, and I'm like, thank you for saying I'm popular. Like I'm in high school right now. I just want to be popular, but I do.
But it was true. I mean, like that. The word that's coming to my mind is just so vivacious, and so with knowing so many people that we felt like.
And if we invite her to something, it better be good.
It better be really good, right? It better be like a charcuterie board good.
Yeah.
You know?
That's fantastic. Well, that's kind of you to say. Thank you. But I mean, I have a lot of fun with you guys at family events. And I think something, you know this, I'm sure, but Laura and I are very close. And you actually coined a term that we use every single day to discuss each other. And you know what I'm talking about?
Gina.
Yeah. So my mom's best friend for my entire life is named Gina. And it's similar kind of situation. When people would start asking about her or her kids, I would always just say, oh, she's my aunt and those kids are my cousins, because it was a lot easier to explain then. Well, she and my mom are attached to at the hip, whether they're going to like exercise class or book club or a movie or just sitting around Subway chit-chatting about their friends. Like they're attached to the hip, attached at the hip, and have been since I was a baby. And my mom retired from a job she had had for over 25 years. And they had a little luncheon for her. And she was there. Gina was obviously there. I was obviously there. And Laura came. And we went to the luncheon, and getting to see your mom honored, or your aunt in her circumstance honored, is a great thing. But one of the things that she walked away with was saying, I need a Gina in my life. I need a friend like that will be there for me in the very high highs and the very low lows, and that we can see each other over different generations and different times of our lives, child rearing and raising teens and all this, when we're on a diet and when we want to eat cheesecake. Like I need a friend like that. And you said,
she's like your Gina.
You literally said, isn't joy that?
Yeah.
You said, isn't joy that for you?
Isn't joy your Gina, right.
And she was like, huh, yeah, it kind of is. So when I was growing up, Oprah was on TV, and she was a fixture. Like every day, 4:00, I'm watching Oprah. Everybody's watching Oprah. You could easily talk about what happened on Oprah, and most people around you would know what you're talking about. Even if they didn't see the episode, they know a little bit about what's going on. But she made a big deal about her best friend. And I think one of the reasons she did it was she did so many shows where these people would be like, my husband cheated with my best friend. And she would say, that's not a best friend. He cheated with someone that you thought was your best friend, but that is not a best friend. Like Gail would never. And so Gail got this kind of reputation, like she's the classic best friend. She's the best friend. She would, she was always there for you, would never do anything. And so people would be like, this is my Gail. This is my Gail. But we've made it so personal that I always say, hey, Gina. And she says, hey, Gina, to me. And that just means the absolute best of friends.
100%. But what I think what's kind of strange in society is that we don't talk about our cousins as best friends.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. I mean, because people have such different relationships with them. I mean, do you have cousins like on the other side that you never see, or they live so far away, or you don't vibe for whatever reason or whatever?
No. I mean, so all my cousins are great. One of my cousins was my best man at my wedding.
Yeah.
Right? And
he's the best one.
He's the best one. He's the best cousin. That's not true to all my other cousins. But he was my best man. Also, my wedding was my other cousin. That gets to kind of this idea that we have really strong bonds with our cousins. From a linguistic perspective, we don't ever talk about cousins as best friend. We have our best friend, and then we have our closest cousin.
Yeah. And also, like, they don't speak to it like you say, oh, you're like a brother to me, or like a sister to me. You don't get to the sibling level.
Yeah.
So it kind of lives there in that little half world.
Exactly.
But I'm very grateful to know you. I also think I have great cousins. We have a ton of fun with all them. Granted, it's harder if you don't live here. You know, we live in the same town or at least in the same area. Yeah. So it's a little bit easier for us to stay close. And those ones that are further away, it's a little bit harder. But I'm very grateful for them, and they play such a fascinating role in that they know a lot about your family. They know a lot about the big picture of your family. They have a pretty close but still outside view of your immediate family, and then how it works with each other. But they're not a brother or sister, so it's like they're just outside. You can't get on you can't get on like immediate family chat. But you can be on the big, right. family chat. You know what I mean?
No, I know exactly what you mean. But in some ways, I think a lot of people may be even closer to their cousins than they are to the siblings.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, it's all over the place. But I think it's a real blessing that I tend to overlook.
How so?
I just mean I take them a little bit for granted, I should probably write more thank you notes or something. I don't know, something. I'll think about it.
You love thank you notes.
I love it. I love thank you notes. Yeah, they're great. But I do want to take a second to just say that one of the themes of our cousinship throughout the years has been that you are always very supportive of me. For any time we talked about anything and I was saying, James, I don't know, I kind of want to start a podcast, or I kind of want to, I'm doing these lives on Facebook and it's really fun and people, seem to like them okay and whatever. You would always be the first to encourage me. And it's so nice to hear someone say, oh, you have a good voice, or you're fun, or I enjoy listening to this, or whatever. But to actually take that extra step of literally being there and actually supporting someone. There's a really big difference between encouraging somebody and then saying, hey, you know what? I'm willing to sacrifice some time for you. I'm willing to sacrifice some of my computer memory for you so that we can hold all these podcasts that you need to edit. I sacrifice some time with my family to support a dream of yours. Sorry, I'm going to get emotional, but I do have big feelings. That is something I can't really express enough gratitude for, because I don't know that I could have just done this completely by myself without somebody there to say, this is fine, you can do this or you can do that. And so I really appreciate you stepping up and doing that for me. I know for a fact this is a way, way, way better podcast with you here than if you weren't here. And it just means a lot to me. I appreciate you. And I thank you for coming on the mic today.
I really appreciate those kind words. And I think what I would say in closing is that the truth of the matter is anyone can make a podcast. The podcast arena is flooded. There's so many, you know what I mean?
Full. Yes, we both know that. It's very full.
And so there's something about you, I think, that resonates with people, connects with people, that is worthy of being put out there. That's why I support it.
Well, I really appreciate it. And we should have been funny instead of cheesy like this. I'm sorry. I started it. I apologize.
I know. I hope your podcast listeners forgive us for
having the big feelings, though.
The name of the podcast,
yeah,
right?
But that was a pretty big feeling about a big thing. That's it's
a big thing. Yeah.
Support.
So they should they should know what they're in for.
Yeah, they should. Okay. Well, thanks so much for being here. Thanks for being here, producer James, and take us out of here.
Thanks so much for listening to Little Things, Big Feelings with Joy Delaney. Do you have big feelings? Joy would love to hear them. Call and leave a voicemail at 214-519-9373. Thanks.
Oh, you have to say the number again.
Why?
In case they missed it.
They can just hit that button and rewind 15 seconds.
Okay, I guess, but what if they were getting a pen?
A pen? A pen? This is a podcast. It's all on your phone.
Yeah, but don't you still have to type it in or something?
That's not really how any of this really works. That's 214-519-9373. Is that good?
Thank you, James.